Hi, hello everyone, and welcome back to Crowley's Bookshop. Today we are going to talk about the Hugo Awards 2025 nominees and the winner, of course, so that if you don't really have the time to read through the 5 nominees of the awards, you really don't have to after this video. Or at least you will have a small idea of what the books are about, so that if you want to give some time to the books, you can do that after this video. I'm going to come clean with this video. I already filmed this one this morning. Hi Diana, happy to see you. No way. Do you want to say something? There you go. I said, what was I saying? Oh yes, I already filmed this video this morning. And to be honest with you, I have not been the most, the clearest I could have been with my attention and with what I really thought about the books. So I'm redoing this video right now. It's been a couple hours and I took the time to think a bit more about this video. So there you go. This video is not the first time, this is not the first time I'm filming this video, but I just wanted to come clean. The reason why I was not in the right state of mind, I guess, with the first time I did the video, is that I don't really understand why Adrian Tchaikovsky didn't win. And it sounds a bit childish said this way, but he was nominated twice this year, with Service Model that we already talked about in a previous video, the Arthur C. Clarke Awards video, and Alien Clay, which is, in my opinion, the best book that went out in 2024. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. I really genuinely do believe that. With the other books that I've read for the Arthur C. Clarke, the Hugo Awards, and the Nebula Awards, because I am going through right now the last book of the Nebula Award, Asunder, if you are wondering. I just do not really understand why it is not the winner, and it is very weird, in my opinion, that you would nominate the same author twice without awarding him, if that makes sense. And also, I understand that nowadays most rewarding awards for the science fiction world also included fantasy. I really wish that the Nebula, the Arthur C. Clarke, and the Hugo Awards would concentrate on science fiction only, because there is so much fantasy in these awards. It is not science fiction anymore, and there is so much science fiction going out every single year and fantasy going out every single year, that I do believe that it's the time now that we separate both. Because yes, they come from the same big pick, right? The science fiction fantasy genre. But science fiction and fantasy, while they do have a lot of interlap, also differ widely in a lot of subjects. And I do believe it is the time that we separate both and that we have awards for science fiction and awards for fantasy. It will be an entire video that I will make one day. My wish for fantasy and science fiction to be separated in, everything, basically, from, booksellers to awards. But now is not the time. Now we're going to talk about the Hugo nominees for this year. Is it better? It is slightly better, isn't it? Sorry to my dear editor, who is my husband, who's probably yelling at me right now on the other side of the screen. I'm so sorry. I thought it was okay. I just noticed now that it was a bit too dark, so I opened the window screen, and I hope it was not too bad for the introduction. But let's go and talk about the winner, because of course the best for first, right? It is not. I know it is not the colloquial expression. I'm not that stupid. But we're going to start with the winner, like I did in my Arthur C. Clarke video, with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. I don't know if the video in question will be out, but I made a video a couple weeks ago with my 5 stars read of my beginning of the year from January to June. And this book was in my 5 stars read, and I stand by that. I love this book. This book was about a young guy who is an investigator, basically a cop, and he is sent to some place to investigate a murder, a very gruesome murder, because the guy who's been murdered has been turned essentially into a tree. It is very alchemy / annihilation, science fantasy. It is a mix of a lot of different things. It is weird fantasy and weird science fiction, and I'm not saying that it is a weird book. It is weird with a big W. It is the name of the genre, right? And I really did enjoy it. I love Mysteries, apart from science fiction and fantasy, thrillers were a big part of my life when I was younger. I loved me a good thriller book. I read all the Connolly books, all the Fred Vargas books. I loved me a good thriller. And I was very happy to see the mix of both, and it worked very, very well. I said in said video that I thought that the main character's boss was a bit too omniscient for my liking, and I still stand by that to this day. But I mean, at the end of the day, a book has to go, you know, like the story has to unfold at some point. So I'm not too mad about it. I still gave it 5 stars, and I still loved the book. I still thought it was a very interesting book. I still loved the world building to this day. I still think about the world building. I still think about the big Leviathan and what it really means. And although I have my reservations about the second book that is already out, because I do believe that it could have been a standalone, I will read the second book when I have a bit more time, and I will definitely give it a try because it sounds like it's nice, you know, and I really want to give it a try. Do I think that it deserved the win? Absolutely. I preferred other books, but it was a very solid book, and I really did enjoy this one. As I said, I am a big fan of everything that goes with like body modifications and, you know, a very Cronenberg type of science fiction, if you know what I mean. I really enjoyed that. So it was right in my alley. Really enjoyed the book. Really nice prose, really nice characters, fantastic world building, and it made me think something that I enjoyed before. So to me, it's a win. Before I go with the books that I have never mentioned before, I want to go through with 2 books that I've mentioned in my Arthur C. Clarke 2025 video. The Ministry of Time by Gillian Bradley being the first one. I already talked about this book, and I don't really want to say more than I already said. Everything I needed to say has been said in this video, like the previous video, but just for the sake of people who don't really want to watch another video, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lovely book. I enjoyed the premise of people being extracted from their timelines to the present, well, our future, but the present of the book. I enjoyed the premise of people from other times, the 1600s and the 1700s and whatever, being extracted through time and being put into, like, you know, a future that they don't really understand, that they don't understand. My only gripe with the book was that it dealt with very important political, economical, and social topics that were deep enough, in my opinion, and I do believe that they needed to be a bit more macro. I think that we needed a bigger picture than just a very localized, 5 to 10-ish characters in a London suburb, if you know what I mean. Like, I thought like it was going to be a bit bigger, because the rest of the world is essentially never mentioned, and I do believe that if we're talking about technology so important and so revolutionary that we can extract people from time, it needed to be bigger. It needed to be, politically, economically, socially much bigger than that, and it was not. And it's fine sometimes to have very localized stories, and I enjoyed the love story, and I enjoyed the thriller-ish aspect of it as well, but I don't know, I felt like the ideas were a bit too big for what the story was at the end of the day. And it was fine. I didn't not enjoy it. I did enjoy the book. I just felt like it should have been more. That's it really. And then the other book that I already mentioned was Service Model by Adrian Tchaikovsky. You understand by now, I think, that Adrian Tchaikovsky is my favorite author. This book essentially tells the story of a robot that kills his master for reasons, and then he has to go outside and find another job. But the world is completely wrecked, and both robots and humans have to deal with the wreckage that is the world. And I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was very fun, very nice to go through, very nice to read. It is not everyone's favorite, I understood that, but I thought it was fine. I did enjoy it. I had a very good time reading through it, and I gave it a 5 stars rating as well. But yeah, I did enjoy this one. It's a very fun, light read, but it also says a lot about humanity and what we will do with robotics in a couple years. And even now, I think it's very actual, to be honest. But yeah, it was nice. I loved it. Moving on with my favorite of the bunch, because let me tell you about Adrian Tchaikovsky just for a second with this one, Alien Clay. This book tells the story of a scientist, a academic guy, who is sent to a prison, a planet prison, because of his belief that is not aligned with the society's ideals, let's say, and he's sent to this planet prison, and he's sent essentially to die, to work until he dies. And death can come very, very easily in this planet, especially since this planet is not fit for human life, and his planet can change people, not necessarily kill them, but change them. There is this character that is kept alive by the humans of the prison as an example of, if you fuck up with this planet, you're going to end up like her. And she is terrifying, and the moment we see her are legit so terrifying. I told you in this very video that I loved the idea of body modification and mind modification, and very Cronenberg-like, because that's the best example I can use, and Van der Meer-like modifications, and this book is just that. It is just that. It is a beautiful window into how different minds and different, biologies can melt together. I'm not going to say too much about this, but you probably, have a bit of an idea of what's going to happen in the book. But it's one of the best book when it comes to how different environments are going to change you as a person and change you biologically, and how biologies and spirits and minds melt and change with the environment and stuff. It's gorgeous. It's one of the very best book about these types of ideas and alien, like truly alien minds and truly alien planets, but also politically and socially, fantastic commentary as well. And sadly, it hits very close to home in certain aspects. I'm not going to say too much again, but it is a very complete work on what science fiction can give between like the body horror and the political aspects and the social aspects. It's very complete. It's very gorgeous. I think the paperback is like 500 pages long, so it's not too long as well. Absolutely gorgeous, and it really deserved to win. It was my favorite of the bunch. Not saying that the Tainted Cup didn't deserve to win, but this was my favorite, and I really wished that it had been the winner. I'm so sorry. It's not very nice for the Tainted Cup, and I'm so sorry about that. As I said, I'm very bummed that Adrian Tchaikovsky had been nominated twice and didn't get the win, and I understand that the Hugo Awards has internal problems when it comes to the vote and the ballots and stuff like that. I will get into that in another video about what really the awards mean for authors and for us as the consumers. But yeah, it's a beautiful book. It's a gorgeous book, and I hope that you will read that one just because I ask you to very nicely. Then we have 2 books to talk about, and then I will let you go. Next book I'm going to talk about is A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher that I have on my Kobo right here. Now, Kingfisher is a very well-known figure in the fantasy genre at the moment, and I never really got any interest in her literature because I really did believe that it was YA. I rest my case, it is not YA, or at least what I've read so far, because I also read Nettle and Bones. They're not YA, so maybe other stuff that she does is, but what I did read so far is not, so I rest my case. And this book talks about a witch that is taking over a lord, she's taking over the lord's heart, and so she's moving with her daughter into the lord's house. And the sister of the Lord is not that into that, because she sees right through her, not that she's a witch, but that she is having bad intentions, let's say. And we follow the daughter as well, who is absolutely terrified of her mother because she knows who she is. And essentially the whole plot is how to not maybe kill, but at least maim or get rid of the witch, of the mother. And it is a quote-unquote modern, because it is still in a medieval setting, but it is a modern retelling of a grim story. So you can imagine that sometimes it is quite graphic, and I was very surprised about this. I didn't expect the book to be so graphic sometimes with its themes and certain scenes that I'm not going to talk about, because no spoilers here. But I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was a good little fantasy book. I had a very nice time reading it. Is it deserving of a Hugo Award? I don't think so. As I said, it is a very nice, pleasant book, but it is not groundbreaking in any case. It is not life-changing. So does every single book has to be life-changing? I don't think so either. It was just very lovely, and it gave me the occasion to go through a Kingfisher book. I enjoyed it. It was nice. And that's really it at the end of the day. Sometimes you can't really ask for more, right? And that's it for me. I enjoyed it. It was fine, and I'm going to move on now. The last book, though, I'm not going to talk too much about it, alright? Because it is the winner of the Nebula Awards 2025. Hi, hello, I'm a massive dumbass. Nice to meet you. I have just realized that the Nebula Awards have a 1-year lag compared to the other awards. For example, the Nebula Awards that have been awarded this year in June were in fact the Nebula 2024 and not the Nebula 2025, while the Hugo Awards and the Arthur C. Clarke Awards that have been attributed this year in August and in July respectively were the awards for 2025. So I am done with my reading lists for now for 2025, and I will be making a bigger video for 2024 when I am done with my last book, my last Nebula book for 2024. I am so sorry for the confusion for the people who knew about the Nebula lag. I'm aware that I'm absolutely stupid and I should have paid attention to the figure before making the video, but what is done, and this is why I am making this little voice note. That's it for me. Thank you. Back to the video. And I really do not understand why, because it is really bad. But it is not really bad, it's just not great. Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. And listen, it made quite a lot of noise because it has a queer love story, right? It also has, it follows the point of view of the monster, of the bad guy. We follow a chimera, for the lack of a better word, a monster who took over a human place, and so humans are going back to said place to get the place back to them. And the chimera, or the monster, in order to survive, has to change into a human because she can do that, and she has to participate in her own hunt with humans. And the premise is very good. I like the premise. I like the idea of a monster who knows basically nothing about humans apart from what they taste like, having to deal with humanity and having to, hide into humanity in order to survive. I like the premise. But it's not really well done. The whole thing with the mother is so expected that I was quite surprised that it was one of the turning point of the book. And yes, there is a queer story. The monster who is turning into a woman is falling in love with another woman. But queer stories don't make a subpar book good just because there is a queer story. And I've said it before and I will say it again. It is not the way it works. And I am always very taken aback when medieval fantasy settings use modern themes. Like in this book, the monster, who's not acquainted with humanity in any way, shape or form, apart from the way they taste like, is using modern therapy talk. Like, oh, your family is toxic. Ugh. No. The monster doesn't know if the family is toxic. The monster doesn't care if the family is toxic. The monster doesn't know. She has no basis to know whether the family is toxic, and she doesn't know what toxic is like, apart from certain, strawberries that maybe are toxic. I don't know. I really had a lot of problems with this book. I really didn't like, as I said, the modern therapy talk, and the way that the monster is just seemingly able to hide very easily for some reasons. I don't know. I felt like it was very easy. I felt like the whole plot was just, yeah, it happened, but it happened way too easily. And I was just meh the entire book. The entire was, I remember I was in the train to go to Paris to get a tattoo, to get this one, I think. And I remember I was in the train, sitting in the train, and I was rolling my eyes and puffing and huffing so bad that my fiance would just look at me and be like, you just have to stop reading at some point if you don't like the book. And I just cannot do that, alright? Especially when it is a challenge like this, where it is like, I'm preparing a video, that's why I'm reading this book in the first place. It was, let's just say that was not the public. Maybe it is a bit YA. I don't think it is necessarily. I think it was tagged as adult, but maybe it was a bit too light for me. I'm more of a dark fantasy / half fantasy person, and I will admit that. Maybe I'm just not the public, and I'm okay with that. I just didn't like the book. I didn't think that it was that good of a book, and that's it for me, really. I guess. In conclusion, this year was pretty good. I'm not going to lie, this year was pretty good. I've already read all the Hugo Awards 2024, so there will be a video about that as well. I'm going to go through all the awards 2024, 2023, 2022, so that you have a little summary of what's been out every single year with the awards. And that's just a little series that I want to do on my channel, and I hope you will like it. But for 2025, the Hugo Awards, I was pleasantly surprised with a lot of things. To be honest with you, without this little challenge I gave myself, I would have probably never heard of the Tainted Cup. I would have probably never read a Kingfisher book, because as I said, I really thought that she was only writing YA, so I rest my case, and this was a good lesson for me. The Tainted Cup, I've simply never heard of this, even though I try to stay on the top of my game and I try to, you know, keep on with the new stuff. That's also why I did this challenge. Clearly, I lacked. Clearly, I fumbled with this one, but I really did enjoy it. There is only one book that I really didn't like, so 1 out of 5 is not too bad, to be honest. As I said, disappointed that Adrian Tchaikovsky didn't win, but if another book should have won, it should have been the Tainted Cup. So all in all, I'm not too mad about this year's awards. So now what's going to happen is that I will do a video per year with the Hugo, the Nebula, and the Arthur C. Clarke awards, and I will make like a very brief summary of each book and what I thought about them and what I thought about the winners for each year. So 2024, 2023, all the way back to, I don't remember when they started, but it's going to take some time, I guess. So we will have quite a few adventures to live through together. And that's it for me. I hope that you liked this video. Please tell me in the comments below if you've read any of the Hugo Awards nominees and which one was your favorite or your least favorite. And yeah, please follow me on different social media if you want to. I am available on Instagram, on Twitter, and also on TikTok and GoodReads. So that's it, really. Can I get a wahoo? Cheers.